What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Read Aloud by Coach T. Today, I will be reading a biblical story, Walking on Water. Let's get it. Let's rock. It had been a long day at the Sea of Galilee. Jesus told his weary disciples to head for home without him, while he sent away the thousands of people who had gathered. It's going to take a little while for me to convince everyone to leave. Jesus said to his friends with a sigh, "You start off without me. I want to spend some time praying on my own. I'll catch up with you." "But how will you follow us?" the disciples protested, clambering into their little boats. "Don't worry, I'll be fine," Jesus reassured them, waving them off. As the men sailed away, Jesus turned back to the crowds and told them it was time to go home too. No one wanted to leave him, but eventually they began to wander away in groups. At last, Jesus was able to leave unnoticed and went a little way up a hillside. Finally, he had some peace and quiet and could pray alone. He stayed for quite a while, deep in thought, talking to God. Meanwhile, out on the Sea of Galilee, the disciples were in trouble. The wind had grown stronger, stirring up strong currents in the water and battering the little boats. The alarmed men rolled up the sails and tried to row to shore, but despite straining at the oars with all their might, the boats were being blown off course out into the dangerous open waters. Hours passed, and as the night grew darker, the wind grew wilder and the waves grew higher. The disciples realized they were lost at sea, and they were terrified. As they sat huddled in their boats, desperately waiting for the light of dawn, they saw a white glow in the darkness. It came closer and grew bigger, turning into the shape of a man. "A ghost!" they cried, even more frightened than before. Then a voice came floating towards them on the wind. "Don't be afraid. It's me, Jesus." The disciples were confused. Was it really their friend and master? Or was the demon trying to trick them? Peter spoke up bravely. "If it's really you, Lord," he shouted back, "tell me to walk to you across the waves." "Yes, come then," Jesus called. Peter stood up, cautiously moved to the edge of the rocking boat, and took a deep breath. The other disciples could hardly believe their eyes as Peter stepped out. Far from sinking into the churning waters, their friend strode from wave to wave over the swirling sea towards Jesus. Peter kept his eyes fixed on Jesus, not daring to look down. But when he was within a couple of steps of Jesus, his curiosity got the better of him, and he glanced down. The moment he saw the frothing foam beneath his feet, his courage deserted him, and he plunged down into the dark, cold waters. "Help me, Jesus!" Peter screamed in a panic. "I'm sinking!" Jesus reached out and grabbed Peter's hand, heavying him up. "Don't doubt me," he said. "Have more faith." Jesus guided his friend back to the boats, and suddenly the wind died down and the waves calmed. The disciples had watched everything in amazement. "You really are the Son of God," they said, falling in awe at Jesus' feet. The end.